Buying and owning a classic car offers some great experiences of road trips, car shows, or just driving it around on a nice sunny weekend. But it can also be a daunting prospect, particularly if your budget is as limited as your mechanical skills. But there are many options for classic cars in different vehicle segments that would make a good first classic car to have on your driveway, or better yet, in your garage if you have one. So I've picked out 5 British classics to give you some idea of how to get into classic car ownership at a decent price without having to spend a fortune on maintenance. Let me know in the comments what you think about my choices. My first pick is the British Motor Corporation Mini, marketed and badged by Austin, Leyland, Morris, Riley, Rover, Wolseley and in Italy as the Innocente. Designed by Alekis Agonis, the Mini was developed in the late 1950s in response to the Suez oil crisis, creating a demand for small, fuel-efficient town cars. The brief was to create a small family car with a maximum amount of room on the inside. The first Minis were built in 1959 and production continued with the car relatively unchanged until October 2000. Although the early cars have become highly sought after and are priced accordingly, well over 5 million Minis were built, so there are still many more to choose from. As well as the different badges, marks and names that the Mini has had, including Partner, Elf, Hornet, Mascot and Mini Minor, the Mini also came in several body formats, including the Traveller or Countryman Estate, an ultralight commercial van or pickup, convertible and the stripped-down Moke utility vehicle. In 1969, a redesigned nose put the Mini Clubman into production alongside the original rounded front car, which continued until 1980. And at the same time, the separate Austin and Morris brands were dropped and Mini became its own identifying mark. Maintenance, restoration and repair of a Mini is pretty straightforward, with body rust the biggest problem to be wary of, but just about every body panel and component can be found supplied new at reasonable prices. There are also literally dozens of Mini owners clubs across the UK and more globally to seek advice from or to attend events with, so you will never feel like you're going it alone in owning one of these cheeky classics. Whether it was part of the design remit or not, the Mini handles corners extremely well and is therefore incredibly fun to drive, likened by many to driving a go-kart. And these characteristics gained the car success in track racing and on the world's rally stages. There are plenty of classic Minis and variants in the classifieds between £5,000 and £10,000 and many more under £20,000 that are fully sorted and ready to go. Anything selling above that is likely to be something a bit more special or rare, but as all Minis look much the same, most people won't be able to tell the difference between a £5,000 Mini City Runaround or a £30,000 Mark I Cooper S Garage Queen. The next car comes from the same BMC stable and probably sits alongside the Mini as the UK's most popular classic cars, certainly the most popular sports car, the MGB. Development of the 1.8 litre MGB Roadster started around the same time of the Mini's launch, but it was not until 1962 that it went into production, carrying on until 1980. In 1965, the Roadster was joined by a fixed-roof coupe known as the MGB GT. Aside from the option of a V8 engine in the GT from 1973, the only change of great significance to either model was in the latter half of 1974, when chrome bumpers were replaced by the black rubber impact bumpers. At the same time, the interiors were updated, sadly resulting in slightly less legroom and headroom in the GT for taller drivers like me. Like the Mini, working on the MGB is no great challenge due to its simple technology and the wide availability of parts and body panels, many of them being made and supplied by the MG Owners Club, which along with the MG Car Club are the two best known of the Mini clubs supporting the MGB with advice and events. Driving an MGB is a delight, and the power of the 1.8 inline-4 and the gear ratios of the transmission are perfectly suited to a blast around the UK's B roads. Around £5,000 will get you a roadworthy Roadster, or GT, in need of a bit of TLC, but between 5 and 10 will get you a very presentable and usable car. Beyond that price, the cars are eminently show-worthy. One of the biggest fears of classic car owners is discovering that the car that they've either cherished for years or have just bought is plagued with rust, meaning lots of cutting, welding, grinding and painting. The Reliant Scimitar mostly avoids this problem by having a fiberglass body. Although the Scimitar GT was in production from 1964, it's the Scimitar GTEs from 1968 onwards that represent the best value for money. The E in the name denotes that it's an estate car, although shooting brake may be a more appropriate and sporting term. Powered by a 3-litre Ford Essex V6 until 1980 and a 2.8-litre Ford Cologne V6 up to 1986, the Scimitar has a growing recognition as a very capable and enjoyable classic car. Of course, in their day there were many who appreciated its charms, none more so than Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, who found them perfect for carrying horse riding gear around the country and owned no fewer than 8 Scimitars during the 70s and 80s. Because of their fiberglass body and Ford mechanicals, Scimitar maintenance is again very straightforward, and parts are abundant and, on the whole, cheap. The only downside is that Scimitars have been undervalued for so long that many are looking worse for wear, as the cost of a respray typically outweighs what the car would be worth when it's done. There are a number of Scimitar forums and an owners club, so there'll always be someone who knows how to help. Reliant Scimitars still seem to be undervalued, so prices start at around £5,000 for a running car, but do seem to be steadily rising, particularly for the 70s cars and those with good paint. They're likely to be in excess of £10,000. If you fancy a project, you might even get one for under £1,000. Commonly referred to as the series Land Rovers, production of the original solid-hull 4x4s spanned from 1948 to 1985, with the only significant visual change occurring between what became known as the Series 1 and the Series 2 in 1958. The almost identical 2A came in 1961 and the lightly facelifted Series 3 in 1971. Most of the series vehicles were available in a variety of largely adaptable and interchangeable formats, including long and short wheelbase, pickups, canvas tops, hard tops and safari roofs, as well as countless other task-specific variants like ambulances and fire trucks. A basic steel ladder chassis and bulkhead with aluminium body panels bolted around it makes the series Land Rovers easy to work on, with many wits saying that most jobs can be done with an adjustable wrench and a hammer. The truth isn't a million miles from that statement. Parts are simple and easy to come by, and there are so many Land Rovers out there tucked away in farmers' fields and barns that you can always find an original donor body panel. It may not be the right colour, but one of the charms of classic Land Rovers is they tend to wear their exterior patina or mismatched body panels with pride. Once again, there are many owners' clubs to lean on, covering all Land Rovers, just the series vehicles, or getting down to specific models and variants. The only real complication is to understand the transmission, the high and low ratio gearboxes, the selectable 2 or 4-wheel drive, and how to move safely between these settings with the 3 different gear selector levers. Project Land Rovers could be dragged out of a barn for less than £3,000, but upwards of 5 will get you one that's running and roadworthy, but needing some love. 8,000 and above will probably be sorted, but as previously mentioned, it's unlikely to be Concours. Even 40 to 75 years old, these vehicles are still used, abused and enjoyed out in the rough stuff. Launched in the same year as the Mini, 1959, the Mark II Jaguar Luxury Sports Saloon replaced what then became known as the Mark I. The rakish 4-door saloon could be specified with a 2.4, 3.4 or 3.8 litre version of Jaguar's famous 6-cylinder XK engine. Whilst the 2.4 litre produced a sedate 120 horsepower, the larger engines were over 200, with the 3.8 litre being much the same motor that powered the E-Type sports car. From 1962 to the end of production, a Daimler branded version of the Mark II was built and was powered by Daimler's own 2.5 litre V8. Its power didn't match the Jaguar's larger engines, but it was more than that of the 2.4, and being much lighter than the straight 6 gave a smooth drive with better cornering at speed. From the autumn of 1967, the 3.8 litre engine was dropped, along with the Mark II name, and the cars lived on for another 2 years as the Jaguar 240, 340 and Daimler V8 250 to fill the gap before the new saloon car lineup was ready. As is typical with classic cars, rust is the biggest issue, but many cars of this age will have been restored already. so it's worth getting them checked out by someone with some experience. Look to one of the many owners' clubs for someone willing and qualified to do this. Basic routine maintenance and repair are less of an issue. Expect to pay at least £10,000 for a car in good, roadworthy condition. Less if you're up for a project or some recommissioning. £20,000 upwards will get you a very well sorted and show-worthy car. Well, I hope these choices have given you some inspiration and confidence to join the thousands of UK classic car owners. Yes, there are times when owning or driving a classic car frustrates and disappoints, but a good classic will never be short of admiring glances, whether out on the road or parked up at a show. As with all classic car purchases, buy the best you can afford and lean into the owners' clubs and forums for advice, although it can be true that the wealth of so-called expertise can be contradictory. Please don't forget to leave me a comment of what you think of these picks, and like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos of classic cars. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.